Dog runs into burning house while firefighters watch. What happens next is unbelievable. The scent of freshly baked apple pie wafted through the Miller house, a comforting aroma that always brought a smile to George's face. He watched from the living room window as his wife, Eleanor, bustled about in the garden, her silver hair catching the afternoon sun. Their golden retriever, Champ, lay sprawled at his feet, his tail thumping a happy rhythm against the hardwood floor. George, a retired firefighter with a sturdy build and a weathered face, leaned back in his armchair, a contented sigh escaping his lips. Life had been good to him. He had a loving wife, a successful daughter, and a loyal companion in Champ. Sure, there were the aches and pains that came with age, the occasional sleepless night, and the lingering memories of the fires he had battled during his career. But all in all, George felt blessed. His daughter, Lily, had recently moved back home after a difficult divorce. It pained him to see her struggling, the sparkle in her eyes dimmed by heartbreak. But he and Eleanor were determined to create a safe haven for her, a place where she could heal and rediscover her joy. Champ, their 8-year-old golden retriever, had been a constant source of comfort for Lily. He would follow her around the house, his head resting on her lap as she worked on her laptop, his soft brown eyes offering silent support. He would accompany her on long walks through the neighborhood, his playful energy a welcome distraction from her worries. George smiled as he watched Lily emerge from the house, a book in hand. She settled onto the porch swing, Champ immediately bounding over to join her. Lily wrapped her arms around Champ's neck, burying her face in his soft fur. Champ responded with a happy lick to her cheek, his tail wagging furiously. "They're quite a pair, aren't they?" Eleanor said, joining George at the window. "They are," George agreed, his heart swelling with affection for his family. "Champ's been a godsend for Lily. He's got a way of knowing when she needs a furry hug." Eleanor nodded, her eyes twinkling. "He's a special dog, that's for sure. He's got a heart of gold, just like his name." As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the lawn, George felt a sense of peace settle over him. He had his family, his health, and a loyal companion by his side. What more could a man ask for? Little did he know that this peaceful evening was about to be shattered, their lives irrevocably altered by a night of terror and an act of unimaginable courage. The crackle of flames and the acrid smell of smoke ripped George from his sleep. Disoriented and heart-pounding, he sat up in bed, his eyes struggling to adjust to the darkness. A thick haze filled the room, and the unmistakable scent of burning would send a jolt of adrenaline through his veins. "Eleanor!" he shouted, his voice hoarse with fear. He reached for his wife, but her side of the bed was empty. Panic clawed at his throat. He stumbled out of bed, coughing as he inhaled the smoke-filled air. "Eleanor! Lily!" he yelled again, his voice barely audible above the crackling flames. He fumbled for the light switch, but the power was out. The room was plunged into an eerie darkness, illuminated only by the flickering orange glow from under the bedroom door. George threw his weight against the door, but it wouldn't budge. It was jammed, possibly warped by the heat. He kicked at it, his heart pounding in his chest. He had to get out, had to find his family. Suddenly, he heard a frantic scratching and barking from the other side of the door. Champ, his loyal golden retriever, was trying to get in. "Champ, get help!" George yelled, his voice cracking with desperation. He heard Champ's whimpers and barks, the sounds growing fainter as the dog ran down the hallway. George pounded on the door again, his knuckles raw. He could feel the heat intensifying, the smoke growing thicker. He was trapped. Memories of his years as a firefighter flooded his mind. He remembered the countless fires he had battled, the lives he had saved, the tragedies he had witnessed. He knew the dangers of smoke inhalation, the speed at which fire could spread. He knew the odds were stacked against him, but he refused to give up. He had to find Eleanor and Lily. He had to get them out alive. He crawled towards the window, gasping for air. He fumbled with the latch, his hands shaking. He managed to pry the window open, a blast of fresh air hitting his face. He took a deep breath, his lungs burning. He looked out the window. Flames were engulfing the house, licking at the walls, climbing towards the roof. He could hear the roar of the fire, the crackling of timber, the shattering of glass. He knew he couldn't jump. It was too high. He would break his leg, maybe worse. He had to find another way out. He crawled back towards the door, his mind racing. He had to get that door open. He had to get to his family. He rammed his shoulder against the door again and again, but it wouldn't budge. He was losing hope. Suddenly, he heard a loud crash from downstairs. It sounded like a window breaking. Then he heard Champ's frantic barking. Closer now. A surge of hope coursed through him. Champ had found a way in. He was coming back for them. The sound of shattering glass and Champ's frantic barking spurred George into action. He scrambled back to the window, his hope rekindled. He peered out, his eyes stinging from the smoke. Below, he saw Champ, silhouetted against the flames, barking furiously and pawing at the wall beneath the window. "Jump, George! Jump!" A voice yelled from below. It was their neighbor, Mr. Henderson. He was standing on a ladder, his arms outstretched. George hesitated. The drop seemed impossibly high, but the heat was becoming unbearable, the smoke choking him. He had no choice. Taking a deep breath, he swung his legs over the windowsill and let go. He landed with a thud in Mr. Henderson's arms, the impact knocking the wind out of him. "Eleanor, Lily," he gasped, pointing towards the burning house. Mr. Henderson's face was grim. "The fire's too strong, George. We can't get in." George's heart sank. He watched in horror as flames engulfed his home, the place where he had built his life, the sanctuary he had shared with his family. He felt a wave of despair wash over him. He had escaped, but what about Eleanor and Lily? Just then, a figure emerged from the front door, coughing and stumbling. It was Lily, her face blackened with soot, her hair singed. Champ was right behind her, nudging her forward, his fur singed and blackened. "Lily!" George cried, rushing towards her. He embraced her tightly, tears streaming down his face. "Dad!" Lily sobbed, clinging to him. "Champ, he saved me. He pulled me out of my room." George looked at Champ, his heart swelling with gratitude. The dog was panting heavily, his eyes bloodshot, but he wagged his tail weakly, as if to say, "I did it, Dad." "Where's Eleanor?" George asked, his voice trembling. Lily's face crumpled. She didn't wake up. I couldn't get to her." George felt a wave of nausea wash over him. He looked back at the burning house, the flames dancing with a cruel indifference. He had escaped, Lily was safe, but Eleanor... He sank to his knees, his body racked with sobs. He had lost her. The woman he loved, his partner, his best friend, was gone. Just then, a commotion erupted from the house. A firefighter emerged, carrying a limp figure in his arms. It was Eleanor. "She's alive!" the firefighter shouted. Barely breathing, but alive. George scrambled to his feet, his heart leaping with hope. He watched as the paramedics worked on Eleanor, administering oxygen, checking her pulse. He knelt beside her, taking her hand in his. It was cold, limp. He felt a surge of fear. "Eleanor, please," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "Come back to me." The paramedics continued to work, their faces grim. Then, a faint cough escaped Eleanor's lips. Her eyelids fluttered open. "George," she whispered, her voice weak. "I'm here, Eleanor," he said, tears streaming down his face. "I'm here." Eleanor was rushed to the hospital, along with Lily and Champ. George followed close behind, his mind a whirlwind of emotions. He was relieved that Eleanor and Lily were alive, but the trauma of the fire, the near loss, the devastation of their home, weighed heavily on him. As he sat in the sterile hospital waiting room, his gaze fell on Champ, who was lying quietly in a corner, his bandaged paws testament to his bravery. George felt a surge of gratitude for his loyal companion. Champ had saved his family. He had done the unthinkable. The waiting room was a blur of sterile white walls, the hushed whispers of worried families, and the intermittent beeping of medical equipment. George paced restlessly, his mind a whirlwind of emotions. Relief that Eleanor and Lily were alive warred with the lingering fear of what could have been. The image of their home engulfed in flames, the acrid smell of smoke, the feeling of helplessness as he pounded on that jammed bedroom door, these memories played on repeat in his mind. He glanced at Lily, who sat huddled in a chair, her face pale and drawn. She was physically unharmed, but the trauma of the fire was evident in her eyes. George longed to comfort her, to reassure her that everything would be all right, but the words caught in his throat. He, too, was struggling to process the events of the night. His gaze fell on Champ, who lay curled up in a corner, his bandaged paws testament to his bravery. The veterinarian had assured George that Champ would make a full recovery, but the dog seemed subdued, his usual playful energy replaced by a quiet weariness. George knelt beside him, gently stroking his fur. "You saved them, boy," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "You saved my girls." Champ looked up at him, his brown eyes filled with a deep understanding. He licked George's hand, a silent acknowledgement of his praise. Hours crawled by, each tick of the clock an eternity. Finally, a doctor emerged, his face etched with fatigue but his eyes carrying a glimmer of good news. "Eleanor is stable," he said, his voice calm and reassuring. "She has some smoke inhalation and minor burns, but she's going to be all right. Lily is fine, just shaken up. And Champ, well, he's a hero. He's lucky to be alive." George felt a wave of relief wash over him. He thanked the doctor profusely, his voice choked with emotion. He couldn't wait to see Eleanor, to hold her in his arms, to tell her how much he loved her. He was allowed to see Eleanor briefly. She was lying in a hospital bed, hooked up to various machines, her face pale and drawn. But her eyes were open, and a weak smile touched her lips when she saw him. "George," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "Eleanor," he said, taking her hand in his. "You're all right. You're going to be fine." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Champ, Lily, they're both fine," he assured her. "Champ saved you both. He's a hero." Eleanor squeezed his hand weakly. "Our brave boy." George stayed with her until she drifted off to sleep, then went to check on Lily. He found her in a separate room, curled up on the bed, Champ by her side. She looked up as he entered, her eyes red-rimmed but a small smile gracing her lips. "He won't leave my side," she said, gesturing towards Champ. "He's been glued to me ever since we got here." George sat beside her, pulling her into a hug. "He knows you need him," he said softly. Lily nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I don't know what I would have done without him." George held her close, his heart aching for her pain. He knew the road to recovery would be long and difficult, but they would face it together, as a family with their loyal companion by their side. The following days were a blur of hospital visits, medical checkups, and well wishes from concerned neighbors and friends. The community rallied around the Millers, offering meals, clothes, and temporary housing until their home could be rebuilt. The story of Champ's heroism spread like wildfire, capturing the hearts of people across the nation. News crews flocked to the hospital, eager to interview the miracle dog and his grateful family. Champ, despite his injuries and exhaustion, seemed to revel in the attention. He lapped up the praise and affection, his tail wagging incessantly. He even posed for photos with the firefighters who had battled the blaze, his bandaged paws held proudly in the air. George, though touched by the outpouring of support, found the media attention overwhelming. He was still grappling with the trauma of the fire, the near loss of his wife and daughter, the devastation of their home. He longed for peace and quiet, for the comfort of his own bed, for the familiar routine of his life before the fire. Eleanor's recovery was slow but steady. She had suffered from smoke inhalation and minor burns, but her spirit remained strong. She was eager to return home, to rebuild their lives, to reclaim their sense of normalcy. Lily, however, struggled. The trauma of the fire had reopened old wounds, the pain of her divorce resurfacing with a vengeance. She was plagued by nightmares, her sleep punctuated by flashbacks of the smoke-filled room and the frantic search for her parents. Champ, sensing her distress, became her constant shadow. He would lie by her side for hours, his presence a comforting weight against her anxiety. He would nudge her hand with his nose, his soft brown eyes offering silent reassurance. He would accompany her on short walks around the hospital grounds, his playful antics a welcome distraction from her worries. George watched their bond with a mixture of gratitude and concern. He was grateful for Champ's unwavering support, but he worried about the toll it was taking on the dog. Champ, too, had been through a traumatic experience. He had faced the flames, braved the smoke, and risked his own life to save his family. One afternoon, as George sat with Lily in the hospital garden, he noticed Champ behaving strangely. The dog was pacing restlessly, his ears perked, his eyes darting around nervously. He whined softly, his body trembling. "What is it, boy?" George asked, concerned. Champ whimpered again, his gaze fixed on a nearby barbecue grill where a family was preparing lunch. The smell of smoke wafted through the air, triggering a wave of panic in the dog. George realized with a pang of guilt that Champ was suffering from PTSD, just like him and Lily. The fire had left its mark on all of them, its scars both visible and invisible. He knelt beside Champ, wrapping his arms around the dog's neck. "It's okay, boy," he whispered soothingly. "You're safe now. We're all safe." Champ leaned into his embrace, his trembling subsiding. George held him close, his heart aching for the dog's silent suffering. He knew they had a long road ahead of them, a journey of healing and recovery, but they would face it together as a family, bound by love, loyalty, and the shared experience of a night that had changed their lives forever. The realization that Champ was suffering from PTSD spurred George into action. He spoke to the veterinarian, who recommended a specialized therapy program for dogs who had experienced trauma. The program involved desensitization exercises, positive reinforcement, and creating a safe and predictable environment for the dog. George embraced the challenge with determination. He dedicated himself to Champ's recovery, just as he had dedicated himself to his family's well-being. He followed the therapist's instructions meticulously, patiently guiding Champ through the exercises, praising him for every small victory. He created a safe space for Champ in their temporary housing, a quiet corner with his favorite blanket and toys. He took Champ on short walks, gradually exposing him to the sights and sounds of the neighborhood, reassuring him with every step. He even started attending a support group for trauma survivors, sharing his experiences and learning coping mechanisms. He realized that his own recovery was intertwined with Champ's, their journey of healing a shared one. Eleanor, though still weak, joined George in Champ's therapy sessions. She would sit beside Champ, her gentle voice offering encouragement and reassurance. She would read to him, her soothing tones calming his anxiety. She would brush his fur, the rhythmic strokes a source of comfort and relaxation. Lily, too, found solace in caring for Champ. She would take him on short walks, their shared silence a testament to their unspoken bond. She would play fetch with him in the park, his joyful barks a welcome antidote to her lingering sadness. She would cuddle with him on the couch, his warm body a comforting presence against her loneliness. As the weeks turned into months, Champ began to show signs of improvement. His anxiety lessened, his nightmares subsided, his playful energy returned. He started to enjoy his walks again, his tail wagging with renewed enthusiasm. He would greet visitors with happy barks, his fear replaced by curiosity and affection. The Millers, too, were healing. George's nightmares became less frequent, his sleep more restful. He found solace in the support group, sharing his experiences with others who understood his pain. He started to plan for the future, envisioning a new home, a new life, a new beginning. Eleanor regained her strength and vitality. She started volunteering at a local nursing home, her caring nature finding an outlet in helping others. She rediscovered her love of gardening, transforming their temporary backyard into a vibrant oasis of flowers and herbs. Lily, though still struggling with the emotional scars of her divorce, found a renewed sense of purpose in caring for Champ. She enrolled in a dog training course, learning how to better understand and communicate with her furry companion. She even started volunteering at the local animal shelter, her compassion extending to other animals in need. The fire had tested the Millers' resilience, pushing them to their limits. But it had also revealed their inner strength, their unwavering love for each other, and the extraordinary bond they shared with their loyal companion. They had faced the flames together, and they would emerge from the ashes stronger, more united, and more grateful for the precious gift of life. The day they finally moved back into their rebuilt home was filled with mixed emotions. A sense of relief washed over them as they crossed the threshold. The familiar scent of fresh paint and new would a welcome change from the sterile environment of temporary housing. Yet, a tinge of sadness lingered, a reminder of the life they had lost, the memories that had been charred along with the walls of their old home. George, ever the pragmatist, focused on the practicalities. He unpacked boxes, arranged furniture, and tinkered with the newly installed appliances. He wanted to create a sense of normalcy, to reclaim the routine that had been disrupted by the fire. Eleanor, her green thumb itching for action, immediately set about transforming the bare backyard into a vibrant garden. She planted flowers, herbs, and vegetables, creating a haven of color and fragrance. The garden became her sanctuary, a place where she could reconnect with nature and find solace in the rhythm of growth and renewal. Lily, however, found it difficult to settle in. The new house, though identical to the old one, felt alien and unfamiliar. The ghosts of the fire lingered in every corner, whispering reminders of the night she had almost lost everything. Champ, sensing her unease, stayed close by her side. He followed her from room to room, his presence a comforting anchor in the unfamiliar surroundings. He would lie at her feet as she worked on her laptop, his soft snores a soothing counterpoint to her anxious thoughts. He would accompany her on walks through the neighborhood, his playful energy a welcome distraction from her worries. One evening, as Lily sat on the porch swing, lost in thought, Champ nudged her hand with his nose. He whined softly, his brown eyes filled with concern. Lily looked at him, a small smile touching her lips. "I'm okay, Champ," she reassured him. "Just a little overwhelmed. That's all." Champ, unconvinced, rested his head on her lap, his warm body a comforting weight against her anxiety. Lily wrapped her arms around his neck, burying her face in his soft fur. "Thank you for saving me, Champ," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I don't know what I would have done without you." Champ licked her cheek in response, his tail thumping a happy rhythm against the swing. In that moment, Lily realized that the fire, though a devastating experience, had also brought unexpected blessings. It had strengthened her bond with her parents, deepened her connection with Champ, and forced her to confront her own vulnerabilities. She had emerged from the ashes with a newfound appreciation for life, family, and the unwavering loyalty of her furry companion. The Millers, though scarred by the fire, were determined to move forward, to embrace the future with renewed hope and resilience. They had faced the flames together, and they would continue to face whatever challenges life threw their way. Their bond forged in the crucible of adversity, their love for each other and their loyal companion burning brighter than ever. Just as the Millers were finding a rhythm in their new life, an unexpected disruption arrived in the form of Lily's ex-husband, Mark. He appeared on their doorstep one afternoon, a bouquet of flowers in hand and a remorseful expression on his face. He had heard about the fire, he explained, and wanted to check on Lily to offer his support. Lily, caught off guard, was unsure how to react. The pain of their divorce was still fresh, the wounds of his betrayal still stinging. Yet, a part of her longed for reconciliation, for the comfort of a familiar love. George and Eleanor, though wary of Mark's intentions, welcomed him into their home. They believed in second chances, in the possibility of redemption. They also saw the flicker of hope in Lily's eyes, the yearning for a happy ending. Mark's presence, however, brought a renewed tension to the household. Old arguments resurfaced. Unresolved issues bubbled to the surface. Lily found herself torn between her lingering feelings for Mark and the resentment that still simmered within her. Champ, sensing the shift in the family dynamic, became protective of Lily. He would growl softly whenever Mark came too close, his body positioned between them as if to shield her from harm. He would follow her around the house, his watchful eyes never leaving her. One evening, as Lily and Mark were having a particularly heated discussion, Champ's growls escalated into a low bark. Mark, startled, stepped back, his face flushed with anger. "He's just a dog." "Lily," he said dismissively, "don't let him control you." Lily, her patience wearing thin, retorted, "He's more than just a dog. He's family, and he knows when something's not right." Mark scoffed. "He's just reacting to your emotions. You're projecting your own anxieties onto him." Lily's anger flared. "You don't know anything about him," she said, her voice rising. "You don't know what he's been through. He saved our lives, Mark. He faced the fire while you were nowhere to be found." Mark, taken aback by her outburst, fell silent. He looked at Champ, who was now standing protectively in front of Lily, his eyes fixed on Mark with a wary intensity. In that moment, Mark realized the depth of the bond between Lily and Champ. He saw the unwavering loyalty, the unconditional love, the shared experience of trauma and resilience. He saw the family that he had almost destroyed, the woman he had hurt, the dog who had become her protector. He knew then that he had no place in their lives. He had made mistakes, caused pain, and broken trust. He had no right to expect forgiveness, no right to disrupt their newfound peace. With a heavy heart, he apologized to Lily and her parents, acknowledging his past failings and wishing them well. He left the house, the echo of his footsteps fading into the quiet night. Lily watched him go, a mix of sadness and relief washing over her. She had loved Mark once, but the fire had revealed the cracks in their relationship, the fundamental differences that had ultimately led to their separation. She turned to Champ, who was now nuzzling her hand, his brown eyes filled with comfort and understanding. She knelt beside him, wrapping her arms around his neck. "Thank you, Champ," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for always being there for me." Champ licked her cheek in response, his tail wagging softly. He had protected her from the flames, and now he had protected her from a different kind of danger, the danger of a love that was not meant to be. The departure of Mark brought a sense of closure to a painful chapter in Lily's life. It allowed her to fully embrace the healing process, to focus on rebuilding her life and strengthening the bonds with her family and Champ. With renewed determination, Lily threw herself into her dog training course. She learned about canine behavior, communication, and the importance of positive reinforcement. She practiced with Champ, teaching him new tricks, reinforcing his good behavior, and strengthening their connection. She also continued to volunteer at the animal shelter, finding fulfillment in caring for abandoned and neglected animals. She walked dogs, cleaned cages, and socialized shy cats. She even fostered a few animals, providing them with temporary homes until they could find their forever families. Her work at the shelter brought her into contact with a diverse group of people, all united by their love for animals. She made new friends, shared stories, and learned about different approaches to animal care and welfare. One of her new acquaintances was a veterinarian named David, a kind and compassionate man with a gentle demeanor and a passion for animal rescue. He was impressed by Lily's dedication to the animals, her gentle touch, and her intuitive understanding of their needs. They started spending time together, initially discussing animal care and shelter operations, but their conversations soon expanded to include their personal lives, their dreams, and their aspirations. Lily found herself drawn to David's calm presence, his genuine kindness, and his shared passion for making a difference in the world. Champ, ever perceptive, seemed to approve of David. He would greet him with enthusiastic tail wags, his usual wariness replaced by a playful eagerness. He would accompany Lily and David on their walks through the park, his happy barks echoing through the trees. George and Eleanor, observing the blossoming friendship between Lily and David, were quietly pleased. They saw the spark of joy returning to Lily's eyes, the lightness in her step, the renewed sense of hope in her heart. One evening, as Lily and David were having dinner with her parents, George cleared his throat, a mischievous twinkle in his eyes. "So, Lily," he began, "tell us more about this David fellow. Seems like a fine young man." Lily blushed, a shy smile gracing her lips. "He is," she admitted. "He's kind, intelligent, and he loves animals as much as I do." Eleanor, her eyes twinkling, added, "And Champ seems to like him too. That's always a good sign." Lily laughed, her heart filled with warmth. "Yes, Champ seems to have given him the seal of approval." David, sensing their gentle teasing, smiled warmly. "I'm honored to have Champ's approval," he said. "And yours, of course." Lily, her cheeks flushed, reached for his hand, their fingers interlacing. In that moment, surrounded by her family and their loyal companion, Lily felt a sense of belonging, of love, of hope for a future filled with happiness and fulfillment. The fire had tested their resilience, but it had also paved the way for new beginnings, new connections, and a deeper appreciation for the precious gift of life. They had faced the flames together, and they would continue to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Their bond forged in the crucible of adversity, their love for each other and their loyal companion burning brighter than ever. As Lily's relationship with David blossomed, a sense of normalcy returned to the Miller household. Laughter filled the rooms once more, replacing the lingering echoes of fear and uncertainty. Dinner conversations revolved around shared stories, future plans, and the occasional playful banter. Champ, ever the center of attention, basked in the warmth of their affection, his presence a constant reminder of the resilience and love that had seen them through the darkest of times. David seamlessly integrated into their family dynamic. He joined them for Sunday brunches, accompanied George on fishing trips, and helped Eleanor tend to her flourishing garden. He even started a weekly tradition of movie nights, introducing the Millers to classic films and documentaries, sparking lively discussions and shared laughter. Champ, initially wary of sharing Lily's affection, grew to adore David. He would greet him with enthusiastic leaps and excited barks, his tail wagging furiously. He would often sit at David's feet during their movie nights, his head resting on his lap, content in the shared companionship. One crisp autumn afternoon, David invited Lily and her parents to join him on a hike in the nearby mountains. The trail wound through a vibrant forest, the leaves ablaze with hues of gold, crimson, and russet. The air was crisp and invigorating, the scent of pine needles and damp earth filling their lungs. As they reached a scenic overlook, David paused, taking in the breathtaking vista. The valley stretched out before them, a patchwork of fields and forests, bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. He turned to Lily, his eyes filled with warmth and affection. "Lily," he began, his voice soft but steady, "from the moment I met you, I knew there was something special about you. Your kindness, your compassion, your strength. You inspire me every day." Lily's heart fluttered in her chest, her cheeks flushed with a rosy hue. She gazed into his eyes, her own reflecting the depth of her feelings for him. David reached into his pocket, pulling out a small velvet box. He knelt before Lily, his gaze unwavering. "Lily Miller," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "Will you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" Tears welled up in Lily's eyes, blurring the beautiful scenery before her. "Yes," she whispered, her voice choked with happiness. "Yes, David, I will." David slipped the ring on her finger, its sparkle mirroring the joy radiating from her face. He rose to his feet, pulling her into a warm embrace. George and Eleanor, witnessing this tender moment, beamed with joy. They had watched their daughter blossom in the aftermath of the fire, her resilience and strength inspiring them all. They knew that David was the perfect partner for her, a man who shared her values, her compassion, and her love for life. Champ, sensing the joyous atmosphere, barked excitedly, jumping and twirling with delight. He had been a witness to their journey, a silent guardian through their trials, and now he celebrated their happiness with unrestrained enthusiasm. The news of Lily's engagement brought a renewed wave of joy to the Miller household. They planned the wedding with excitement, envisioning a celebration filled with love, laughter, and the warmth of family and friends. Champ, of course, was an integral part of the festivities. He served as the ring bearer, proudly carrying the symbol of their love down the aisle. He posed for photos with the happy couple, his tail wagging with pride. He even joined them on their honeymoon, a constant companion on their new adventure. The fire had tested their resilience, but it had also paved the way for new beginnings, new love, and a deeper appreciation for the precious gift of life. They had faced the flames together, and they would continue to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Their bond forged in the crucible of adversity, their love for each other and their loyal companion burning brighter than ever. Life after the wedding settled into a comfortable rhythm. Lily and David found a home of their own, a cozy cottage nestled amongst the rolling hills, with a spacious backyard for Champ to roam and explore. They filled their days with shared passions, hiking, volunteering at the animal shelter, and cultivating their own thriving garden. George and Eleanor, though enjoying their newfound peace and quiet, cherished the frequent visits from Lily, David, and Champ. Sunday brunches became a cherished tradition, filled with laughter, shared stories, and the comforting aroma of Eleanor's freshly baked treats. Champ, now a senior dog, reveled in the love and attention showered upon him by his expanded family. He enjoyed leisurely walks with George, gentle cuddles with Eleanor, and playful games of fetch with Lily and David. His once vibrant golden fur had faded to a soft silver, but his eyes still sparkled with the same playful energy and unwavering loyalty. One day, while on a walk with George, Champ suddenly stumbled, his legs giving way beneath him. George, alarmed, rushed to his side, his heart pounding with concern. Champ whimpered softly, his eyes filled with confusion and pain. George gently lifted Champ into his arms, carrying him back to the car. He drove straight to the veterinarian, his mind racing with worry. The vet examined Champ, his face etched with concern. He explained that Champ was suffering from arthritis, a common ailment in older dogs. George's heart sank. He knew that Champ was getting older, but the realization that his loyal companion was facing health challenges brought a wave of sadness. He listened attentively as the vet outlined the treatment options, his determination to provide Champ with the best possible care unwavering. Lily and David rushed to the vet's office upon hearing the news. They knelt beside Champ, their faces etched with worry, their hands gently stroking his soft fur. Champ, sensing their concern, licked their hands in reassurance, his tail thumping weakly against the examination table. The following weeks were filled with vet appointments, medication schedules, and adjustments to Champ's routine. George and Eleanor took turns caring for him, ensuring he received his medication, enjoyed gentle walks, and had plenty of rest. Lily and David visited frequently, bringing their love and support, their presence a comforting balm for Champ's discomfort. Despite their efforts, Champ's health gradually declined. His walks became shorter, his naps longer, his once playful energy replaced by a quiet weariness. Yet his spirit remained strong, his love for his family unwavering. One evening, as the sun cast long shadows across the living room, Champ gathered his strength for one final act of love. He rose from his bed, his movements slow and labored, and walked towards George, his tail wagging weakly. He rested his head on George's lap, his brown eyes filled with a deep affection. George, sensing the significance of this moment, wrapped his arms around Champ, his tears falling freely. "You've been the best friend a man could ask for, Champ," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "You saved our lives, you brought us joy, you taught us the true meaning of loyalty and love." Champ licked his hand in response, his eyes closing slowly. He took a deep breath, then exhaled softly, his body relaxing into George's embrace. A wave of grief washed over the room as the Millers mourned the loss of their beloved companion. They held each other close, their tears mingling with Champ's soft fur. They shared stories of his bravery, his loyalty, his unwavering love. They buried Champ in their backyard, beneath his favorite oak tree, where he had spent countless hours basking in the sun and playing fetch. They placed a simple headstone, engraved with the words, "Champ, our hero, our friend." Though their hearts ached with grief, the Millers knew that Champ's legacy would live on. He had taught them the true meaning of unconditional love, the power of resilience, and the enduring bond between humans and animals. His memory would forever be etched in their hearts, a reminder of the extraordinary dog who had saved their lives and filled their days with joy. The silence in the house was deafening. Even the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway seemed amplified, each tick a hammer blow against the fragile peace that had settled over the Miller family. Champ's absence was a gaping hole in their lives, a constant reminder of the joy and unconditional love he had brought into their home. George wandered through the house, his footsteps echoing in the emptiness. He paused in the living room, his gaze falling on Champ's favorite spot by the fireplace, the worn patch in the rug a testament to countless hours spent napping by the warmth of the flames. He picked up Champ's well-worn tennis ball, its faded colors and teeth marks a poignant reminder of their playful games of fetch. Eleanor found solace in her garden. She tended to her flowers with a gentle touch, whispering words of love and remembrance to the blooming roses and fragrant lavender. She imagined Champ frolicking amongst the blossoms, his tail wagging, his bark echoing through the tranquil space. Lily, her heart heavy with grief, sought refuge in the memories they had created. She scrolled through photos on her phone, each image a precious snapshot of Champ's life, his playful puppyhood, his adventurous hikes, his gentle cuddles with her parents. She recalled his unwavering loyalty during her divorce, his comforting presence during the aftermath of the fire, his unwavering love throughout the years. David, though not having known Champ as long as the Millers, felt the loss deeply. He had witnessed the profound bond between Champ and his family, the unwavering loyalty and unconditional love that had defined their relationship. He mourned the loss of a cherished member of their family, a silent guardian who had brought them together and taught them the true meaning of companionship. As the weeks turned into months, the sharp edges of grief softened, replaced by a gentle ache and a profound sense of gratitude. The Millers found solace in sharing stories of Champ, their laughter mingling with tears as they recalled his quirky personality, his mischievous antics, and his unwavering love. They honored his memory by continuing his legacy of compassion. They increased their involvement with the animal shelter, donating their time and resources to help other animals in need. They established a scholarship fund in Champ's name, supporting students pursuing careers in veterinary medicine and animal welfare. They even adopted a new dog, a shy rescue pup named Hope, who brought a renewed sense of purpose and joy into their lives. Hope, with her gentle spirit and playful energy, filled the house with a different kind of love, a reminder that while Champ's place in their hearts would forever be unique, the capacity for love and compassion was boundless. The story of Champ, the heroic golden retriever, became a cherished tale passed down through generations of the Miller family. He was remembered as a loyal companion, a brave protector, and a symbol of unwavering love. His legacy lived on, not just in the hearts of those who loved him, but in the countless lives he touched through his heroism and the enduring impact of his story.